Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Commander review for Magic the Gathering. Today we're talking about Soramaro, First to Dream. This is the final Commander that we're going to talk about for the Saviors of Kamigawa set, and it's the final hand size matters or first to or first of cycle of commanders from the Saviors of Kamigawa set. And this card is awesome. I've had a copy of this card for a long time. So I can't wait to talk more about this card. I love what this card does. I love the whole archetype in general. We'll get right on into it. But first, Soramaro, First to Dream, is a legendary spirit. Its power and toughness are star, and it has a mana value of 6, 4 generic and 2 blue mana. It has flying keyword, and it has a static ability. Soramaro First to Dream's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. So the more cards you have in your hand, the stronger Soramaro is. Lastly, it has a activated ability. For 4 mana, and return a land you control to its owner's hand, draw a card. So this falls right into the theme of like what the Moonfolk are all about in the Kamigawa block. They care about you returning lands to your hand to do these crazy effects, whether it's draw cards, copy spells, counter spells, mill your opponents, or mill yourself. Really cool stuff, and it does this weird land bounce strategy, which at the time was not strong. However, we've gotten some major support for this archetype, and I can't wait to talk about it. No card rulings for this commander. Just bear in mind that as part of the cost for its ability, you have to return a land to your hand. So if you have no lands in the battlefield when you're using this ability, you're not going to be able to activate it. However, you should have lands. Next, cards that synergize with this commander. Psychosis Crawler. Not only do we want to have a big hand size for our commander, but we want to have effects that care about us drawing lots of cards. And Psychosis Crawler does a great job of that. Not only does it get strong based on your hand size, but it also bleeds our opponents out every time we draw a card. And we're hoping to draw a lot of cards in this deck. Speaking of drawing cards, a popular deck idea on EDH Rec is a card draw matters deck. You're not necessarily focusing on Soramaro's ability, other than the fact that you are wanting to just have a big hand size so you can have a strong commander. Not just a strong commander, but a lot of strong creatures. There's surprisingly a lot of creatures in blue that care about having a large hand size to have high power, high toughness. Really cool stuff there. Lots of effects that can give you no maximum hand size, and again, there's lots of effects in blue that care about when you draw cards. Ominous Seas is a great example of this because once you draw tons of cards, then not only are you going to have big creatures of your non-tokens, but then you'll be able to make giant 8/8 Krakens as well. It's absurdly powerful. And then lastly, this is not the original idea I wanted to talk about, but it is something that has become more prevalent throughout the Universes Beyond stuff and some of the more recent sets we've got. Originally, I was going to talk about doing a mono-blue landfall deck where you want to return a land to your hand, draw a card, play a land, or put a land into play. Really cool stuff. I love that archetype, mono-blue landfall. It was one of my favorite 60-card decks that I ever made, where I took a bunch of Moonfolk and a bunch of landfall cards, and I put them together where I was bouncing lands to my hand, putting them into play, getting the landfall triggers, plus putting them back into my hand to do the Moonfolk stuff. Really awesome, really cool deck. I loved it so much, and I can't wait to play it again in Commander. But this deck is a slight twist, and you probably could play it in a mono-blue landfall deck, but I'm wondering, as Magic evolves, and we know Magic will continue to evolve and do all of its crazy power-creeping shenanigans, but over the years, we have gotten different versions of lands. So we have transform lands like Thematic Compass that becomes Spires of Orazca. We have the double-faced cards like Seagate Restoration, and on the backside of it is Seagate Reborn. Then we have the adventure lands, where they are lands that have adventures attached to them that you can cast. So I think there's some fun stuff we can do here. I think this would be a weird, interesting land matters, and there are very few cards that care about when things bounce to your hand, but you could build around with those supports of like when a land bounces to your hand or whenever a permanent is returned to your hand. I think a great archetype with this would be for like the frogs from the Bloomborough set. There's a lot of blue frogs that care about returning things to your hand. I think it would be a lot of fun. So what the point of the deck is, you're returning lands to your hand, so then you can use their other half if you need. You play Seagate Reborn, so you can get your lands. And then later in the game, when you're like, ooh, I just want to draw a bunch of cards, and I don't need this Seagate Reborn anymore, return the Seagate Reborn to my hand. Next turn, or if you have the mana for it, cast the Seagate Restoration, draw a huge hand, or maybe you're running a little bit low on cards, or you want more lands in play. So you've got Thematic Compass, you flipped it over, which means you have a lot of lands in play already, but you're like, ooh, I want a few more lands. Return the Spires of Araska to your hand, play it as Thematic Compass, get more land ramp out of it. Or maybe you want to do some milling shenanigans. You cast the Overture, the adventure side of Jador, and then you play it from exile as the land, and then later on you're like, ooh, I want to mill again. Return Jador to your hand, and then cast the Overture side again, and then play it on a later turn from exile. So this crazy, like, toolbox type of deck, where the tools in your deck are the non-basic lands in your deck that have other faces or other things attached to them. So right now, I don't know how powerful or efficient this deck would be, but I think this would be a lot of fun, and I think we could do some fun, interesting shenanigans with like the Bloomborough frogs that care about things bouncing to your hand specifically. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I think this would be an interesting archetype. You could throw these cards in a Landfall Matters deck and just get some extra benefits with Landfall as well. Lots of ways you can go with this, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this archetype specifically of Toolbox lands. And that's going to do it for Soramaro First to Dream. Really cool card. I've loved this card for a long time, for as long as I've had this card. Very cool, very unique ability. It's one of my favorite abilities. I love the Moonfolk ability to return things to your hand. Lands specifically, because they synergize so well with landfall effects. However, there's not a lot of different deck ideas you can build with this commander. You need lots of cards in your hand. You need to be able to return lands to your hand. It's a spirit. It's a flying creature. There's not a lot of ways you can go with this commander, especially in the sense of there's a lot of other commanders out there that do what this commander does, but more extreme, you know? So as far as deck ideas go, there's not a lot to go off of, but you can go ahead and check EDH Rec out to find those deck ideas. This commander does have the rank of C because of that. However, I think there's a lot of potential with this archetype, especially because Wizards continuously makes different types of utility lands, or double-faced lands, or adventure lands. We're gonna continue to get an evolution of weird, crazy, janky lands, and I think the more of that we get, the more unique opportunities this commander and others like it have to build crazy, unique land bounce or lands matter decks, which is really cool. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!